Hey guys, this is Amy from Knit Collage, and I'm here today to show you how to brioche. I just released a very simple brioche pattern called the Joie brioche stitch scarf. So this is a great pattern to learn how to brioche on because you're not doing much complicated. You're just going to do that same brioche stitch, 4 rows repeated throughout the length of your scarf. So simple. So brioche is awesome because it's totally reversible. So depending on which side you have facing out, you'll get a different dominant color. So it'll be really fun to learn how to do this. You will need 2 skeins of yarn and a size US 15 10 mm double pointed needle. So double pointed needle or circular needle, 16-inch circular. I prefer working with the circular needle because this is a chunky yarn. Your stitches might slip off a double pointed, which tend to be shorter. So if you have a longer double pointed needle, then that's great. I'm gonna go with my circular needle. So we're gonna get started. I'm using 2 colors of Spun Cloud yarn, or Spun Cloud, in very contrasting colors because I want you to be able to see the difference in the stitches really easily. So to start out, we're gonna cast on 16 stitches. Now the pattern says cast on very loosely. That's important for this stitch. And one way to do that is by casting on with 2 needles instead of 1. So everything you would do the same for a long tail cast on, just with 2 needles. That'll keep it nice and loose. So I am gonna do that here and cast on the 16 stitches. Ten, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. All right, so I have a little extra. Just gonna double check. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. I've got a little extra here. For time's sake, I'm just gonna tie that in a little bow. And forget it. Okay, and I can get rid of that longer needle that I don't need and keep the shorter one because we're just gonna knit with 1 needle. Okay, so first row we're gonna take yarn B. So yarn B for me is my creme brulee, yarn A is the bodacious pink. So we're gonna take yarn B and we're going to start by purling 1 stitch. So you'll purl 1 stitch, and then you're going to slip 1 stitch. Now in brioche, in this pattern, we're always going to slip it purlwise with the yarn in front. So we're gonna slip that next stitch and then do a yarn over and then purl 1. And we're going to repeat those 2 stitches throughout the entire row. So slipping 1 stitch, yarn over, purl 1, 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 slipping 1 stitch, yarn over, purl 1. That last stitch we're going to slip. Now the whole reason we have this on a double pointed needle, it's not knitting around, right? Is because we need to slide the stitches back to the other side, kind of like you do in an I-cord. And now we're going to use the next color. So we're essentially knitting each row twice, once with each color. So that's why we slide it back. After this row, we'll turn and knit 2 again, that same way. then turn, okay? But we'll go through it all together, so let's not rush ahead, right? Okay, so to begin this row, we're gonna take that bodacious pink, which is color A, and we're going to start with the yarn in back and slip that stitch. I'm always slipping my stitches purlwise. So I'm gonna slip that stitch. Now we are going to knit the next two stitches together, which is the pink, bodacious pink, and then the yarn over from the row below. So this is called a bark stitch in brioche world. So we say we barked it by knitting it together. Then you're going to slip the next stitch, which is the creme brulee or B yarn, color B, purlwise again, like you did in the last row, and then do a yarn over. Then you're going to knit these two stitches together, bark it. Then you will slip that creme brulee stitch purlwise, yarn over, knit the next two. So you're just repeating those two stitches all the way to the end of the row. So slipping all the creme brulee stitches, following it with a yarn over, and then knitting, barking the next stitch. Oopsie, fell off the needle, get it back, and knit it. And then okay. And then when you get to the last stitch, you will knit it. At this point, you've knit each color on this first set of rows. Now you will turn your work and go back in the other direction like you traditionally would if you were just knitting with one color. And we're gonna go back to working with color B, which is the creme brulee. And we will begin with the yarn in back, and we will slip that first stitch, always slipping purlwise. And then we're going to bark these two stitches. So we're going to knit that yarn over from the row before together with the creme brulee, and we're gonna knit it. And then we're gonna slip the bodacious pink and yarn over like we've been doing, bark the next stitch, yarn over, bark, so it's really pretty easy, right? Once you get the hang of it, it's really easy to see when you mess up too. Okay. Oopsie, I took a yarn over, so slipping that, yarn over, and then barking. Slip, yarn over, and that last stitch I'll knit. This is all written in the pattern. Super simple to follow along if you have that in front of you. All right, now for row 4, we will slide our needle again so that we can work the pink yarn, the bodacious pink, which is my color A. So in this row, on this row, row 4, we are going to begin with the yarn in front, as the pattern states, and purl that stitch. And then we are going to slip the next creme brulee stitch as we have been purlwise, and then yarning over. Now the next stitch is called the burp stitch. Now in that stitch we're just purling the bodacious pink with the yarn over of the creme brulee from the row before. So we're going to purl those together. And that's called the burp. And then we will slip that next creme brulee, yarn over, purl those two together. Alrighty, making headway, slip, yarn over, purl, or burp those two stitches together. Then you're gonna slip that next one, a yarn over, burp those two stitches, slip, yarn over, burp those 2 stitches. All right, and when you come to that last stitch, you are going to slip it, because obviously you're not going to knit that creme brulee stitch with your bodacious pink. You're creating vertical lines in each stitch on your work. So you can see it's starting to work, but because we've only knit 4 rows, you can't super tell. So, all right, at this point we can turn our work again, and we will start with row 5 in yarn B, my creme brulee. All right, so we're gonna begin with the yarn in front, and we'll begin by purling that creme brulee stitch. Then we're going to slip the bodacious pink stitch and do a yarn over. Then we will burp these 2 stitches, so the yarn over from the previous row and the creme brulee stitch, we're going to purl those together. So that's a burp, and then we will slip bodacious pink, yarn over, and do burp. So we're going to do that all the way across row 5. When we get to that last stitch, we're going to slip it, always slipping purlwise. Okay, now back to row 6, we're going to slide the needles and work the bodacious pink again, much in the same way we have before. All right, so you've got your pink yarn, and you're going to keep that in back and slip the first stitch purlwise, and then we're going to bark these 2 next stitches, so knitting them together with the bodacious pink, then slipping 1 purlwise and yarning over, barking the next 2, slipping 1 purlwise, barking the next 2. This is also all written in the pattern, the exact details, so it should be super simple to follow along there as well. All right. Knitting those 2. Oh, I forgot to add my yarn over. So we're going to add that yarn over. Burp them together. Here we go. And then that last stitch, we will knit it as the pattern says. And at this point, you can turn. So now you can see that your brioche is coming together. You're getting these vertical stripes. It looks so cool on the back side and this side. So you've got the pink stripes on this side, the creme brulee stripes on this side. I love the way that looks. And what the pattern calls to do is to repeat rows 3 through 6, so that's 4 rows totally that we just did. You're going to repeat those through the entire length of your scarf. It's so simple, and in the end you'll end up with what I showed you, that gorgeous scarf, and I will link to the pattern in the YouTube channel here so you can see what that looks like. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. I hope you decide to give brioche a try. Bye.